the things that we kind of figured out, like muddled through on our own, like, well, I guess it feels good if you do this, so I guess I'll do that some more. Like, what if you had somebody who could be like, okay, here's what you can do. Here's all these different moves and all these tricks, and like, here's some toys. That's what I'm here for. Hi, I'm Ashley Manta. I'm the cannasexual. Is anyone familiar with cannasexual? Yes. Anybody follow me on social media?
I do, yes.
Yes, you do, Kelly Valentine. Slut Ever. If you get Viceland or you watch Slut Ever on Viceland, I was on an episode of Slut Ever, which was really cool.
I haven't seen it yet.
That was a cool moment for me. How many people are meeting me for the first time ever? Hi! I'm so happy to meet you. Thank you for coming. So I am a massive nerd about sex. I love it. I love everything about it. I love pleasure and geeking out about conversations and communication and like how to make whatever you're doing even more awesome than it already is, and like how to drop all the shame and all the bullshit that we've been given our whole lives about like how we're supposed to look and act and interact with each other, and like what I'm supposed to feel about my body and my pleasure and what I'm allowed to ask for, and like all of that shit, I want to throw it away. And like if we throw all of that away, who are you under there? Who are you deep inside where no one's ever told you that you're wrong or broken or need to do something to be worthy? Like that's the space that I like to play in. And so it's taken me a long time to get to this place. I've been a sex educator for 10 years, but I'm also a sexual assault survivor. So I was sexually assaulted when I was 13. That was my first ever sexual experience, and it totally warped the way that I approached sexuality for a long time. I didn't trust people. I had a really deep-seated narrative about like that I needed to be sexually pleasing to be worthy of attention, and that all of my value came from what I could do sexually for other people, specifically guys at the time, before I realized I'm also queer and an equal opportunity slut. I love it. I love bodies. Bodies are great. But for a long time I was strictly focused on penises, and penises are also great. I'm a fan. The love of my life has a penis, but I also like to get out there and explore. And before I got to that place of like really finding my hell yes and like really being able to set my nose in a powerful way and like unapologetic way, I had a lot of bad sex. I had a lot, like not just like poor quality, but like where my consent was not considered, where I said yes when I really wanted to say no, but I felt pressured, or I felt like all of these expectations about what I was supposed to be doing or how I was supposed to be showing up, like swallowing or like not using condoms, like all of those pressures that a lot of partners can put on you. Like I was just falling into all of that. And then I was like, you know what? This is bullshit. This sucks. I don't feel good about my body. I don't feel good about the sex I'm having. Like my pleasure is always like the last thing on anybody's mind. And I decided, no, that's not the way I want to live my life anymore. And so I started healing from my trauma. I went to therapy and I learned about trauma. That was part of my healing process, was like geeking out about it and like studying PTSD and trauma recovery and somatic healing and like what my body was doing. It meant telling my story in front of a group of people and like having that witnessed and like making it my story instead of just something that happened to me. It was a really powerful like act of reclamation for me to tell my story the first time. And so I became a victim advocate and a rape crisis counselor, and I was like, I want to help other people because I don't want them to be like going through this alone, and it's a tough process. Like I'm sure everyone here knows someone who has experienced sexual violence in their lives. Perhaps people here have as well. Also, trigger warning, if any of this gets too much or like feels come up, please take care of yourself. You don't have to apologize. If you want to cry, if you want to yell, if you want to like not harm yourself or others, but otherwise express your emotions, totally fine in this space. And if you need to like, if this is too much and you're like, okay, I can't this weekend, I need to be more stoned for this, that's also fine. Please take care of yourself. I will not take it personally. So taking care of survivors became a really powerful way of healing for me. And that's culminated in me being a victim advocate at the Philadelphia District Attorney's Office. And it was really powerful work, and I burned out. That's also a thing that happens when you do direct service and when you take care of people all the time and you try to like derive your worthiness from taking care of other people, like you can burn out because you have to take care of yourself sometimes. You know, you can't pour from an empty cup, as people kept telling me. And so I was like, okay, I can't do that version of the work anymore. I want to focus on pleasure and empowerment and getting into your body and finding joy and excitement and playfulness and curiosity. Like, that's where I want to live. And so I pivoted hard, and I learned about sex toys, and I learned about lubes, and I became a phone sex operator. So I heard people's fantasies from all over the country, and I was shocked. Not at the fantasies, like those were so super awesome, but what I was actually genuinely shocked by was I was a no limits phone sex operator. So I would do anything. Like, you want to be like aliens torturing each other? Cool, like, I'm down for that. Like, whatever. I was so open. And you know the most common thing that was requested? Sloppy blowjobs. All these guys wanted were sloppy blowjobs. They could have anything. I could like weave this elaborate fantasy about like 20 women and like mountains of money or whatever. No, sloppy blowjobs. That's what they all wanted. Which told me a couple of things. One is that people lack imagination. Because like, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with sloppy blowjobs, but like, that just means they're stuck very firmly in their box. And it told me that it's really the basics that people need help with. Like, even when they could have the crazy alien sex and acrobatics and piles of money in their fantasy, they really wanted the basic stuff. And so that made me realize I need to talk about the basic stuff, like blowjobs and like how to masturbate and how to like feel good in your body and make someone else's body feel good by getting their help to do it. What a concept. You don't just have to know. Because the funny thing is about sex ed in this country is when you turned 18, somebody didn't like magically come down from the sky and like bop you over the head with a magic wand and like impress all of the wisdom about sexuality of the universe like into your brain. How did you even learn about sex? You had it with maybe one person or maybe a couple of people, and so you were sort of like very much in this small universe of possibilities of what sex could look like. Or maybe you watched porn. Some people look at porn for sex ed. That's a problem, because porn is awesome. I'm a fan. I'm a really big fan. Some of my dearest friends are porn performers, and it's great. But it's entertainment. It's not instruction. Like, you wouldn't watch The Fast and the Furious to learn how to drive. Probably. One would hope. It's professionals on a closed course. You're not seeing all of the prep that goes into the way that those bodies are showing up in that exact moment, and the surgeries and the makeup and the waxing and electrolysis and like all the things that they have access to make their bodies look like that we just don't, and we don't need to. And that's totally, like, it can set you up for this like, well, my body doesn't look like that, or it doesn't do that, so maybe what I'm doing is wrong, or I'm not okay somehow. And like, we get in our heads. Anybody else? Yeah. Get in your head about Instagram models and Tumblr porn, and you're just like, that's not what I look like. Okay, so that's okay. It doesn't have to be. That's not what I look like either. And I still have fucking rockin' sex. And you can too. So I'm really about like letting go of these ideas of perfection and the things that we kind of figured out, like muddled through on our own. Like, well, I guess it feels good if you do this, so I guess I'll do that some more. Like, what if you had somebody who could be like, okay, here's what you can do. Here's all these different moves and all these tricks, and like, here's some toys. That's what I'm here for, is to like shorten the learning curve. I'm like, you know, when you go on YouTube and you're like trying to find a tutorial video, but you never can find the one exactly for what you're looking for, you're like, I mean, that's kind of how to roll a joint, but I don't have that thing or that thing, so like, how do I do it? I have that problem all the time on YouTube. It's just the worst. But it's good, because I am your like personal YouTube to show you all the things. And so I have lots of things to choose from. So I'm gonna sort of pull the room. I didn't prepare anything for this. I'm all about like kind of riding the vibe. That's how I move through life. So, how many people would find it useful to talk about self-confidence, the things that we tell ourselves about our bodies, genital, like pleasure anatomy, and like more us-focused empowerment stuff? How many people want? Well, actually, let me tell you all the options so you don't have to vote prematurely. So that's one. Then there's like toys and lubes and like how different toys work, like passing around lots of dildos and all that kind of stuff. That's another option. Or we could do how to please penises if you want. Totally not attached to that. Or intro to sex and cannabis. Those are your options. So body empowerment, self-confidence, toys, penis pleasing, and sex.
1, 2, 3, 4.
1, 2, 3, 4. Okay.
Option 1.
Okay, body empowerment. Raise your hands. Cool. Sex toys and how to use them. A couple people. Penis skills. No, very few votes for penis. We'll talk. I also am offering coaching sessions.
Any session, you have 2 sessions open.
I do. Oh, awesome. So there's 2 15-minute sessions left. They're $20 each. If you can't get in this weekend, hit me up. I'll give you a discount on coaching. All my coaching's via Skype. So we'll set up times, and I will totally do like 25% off for anybody who comes from the Ganja Goddess Getaway happily. That's easy.
So 1, 2, 3. No, did anyone vote before yet?
Anyone vote for sex and cannabis how-tos?
Yeah.
A couple of those. Okay, so we'll start with body confidence and we'll end on sex and cannabis. How's that sound?
And we'll skip over penises.
And we'll skip over penises because, fuck them.
That's what we do.
That's what we do. That's what you can do. You can also ignore them completely and that's fine.